Mina had spent 20 years keeping the family together. By the time she realized what she had lost, Jaemin had already stopped seeing her as his wife. When Mina was young, she had been the best dancer at her school. For a while, she even had a real chance to stand on a bigger stage. Then an unexpected pregnancy changed the course of her life. She left school and followed her husband, Jaemin, to Germany. From then on, her dreams and every hour of her day belonged to her family. Now Jaemin looked down on her because she had never graduated. He was already planning to divorce her once their son, Junwoo, got into college. Mina had spent half her life as a housewife. Looking back, she realized there was almost nothing left that belonged to her. Even the phone in her hand was an old one Jaemin had stopped using. After signing the divorce papers, Mina went straight to her best friend, Hyami, and let out everything she had been holding in. She said, "Jaemin thinks I'm uneducated, right? Then she would get into college and prove him wrong. She would prove she was more than someone who only knew how to keep a house running." Hyami thought Mina was acting out of anger. She told her not to make such a huge decision just because she was upset. But Mina said people who had never been married could never understand. And someone like Hyami, who had built her whole life around her career, would understand even less. That night, Mina stood by the window early, waiting for her husband and son to come home. When she saw them entering the neighborhood, she hurried to the door to greet them. But Junwoo looked at her with no warmth at all. Only irritation. Jaemin snapped that all she ever did was call people to the table. In their room, he pushed Mina's bed farther away, as if he could not stand being near her. Then he took off his wedding ring and said coldly, "We're already divorced. You should take yours off too." Mina covered her ring without thinking. In the end, she slowly took it off. After that, Mina began studying in the only hours that still belonged to her. She reviewed vocabulary while making breakfast, watched lectures in the bathroom before dawn, and kept her books hidden as carefully as if they were evidence of a crime. Some mornings, she studied until her nose bled, but stopping felt more frightening than exhaustion. On the day of the entrance exam, she sent Junwoo out first, waited until the house was quiet, and slipped into Hyami's car. Those sleepless nights eventually paid off. She earned a strong score and applied to philosophy, the same major her son had chosen. Mina checked the admission results with her heart full of hope. But the result on the screen crushed her. She thought she had failed. Her marriage was falling apart. And now college seemed to be gone too. Mina could no longer hold it in and broke down crying. When she got home, she wiped away her tears and forced herself to smile. She still congratulated her son on getting into college. But Junwoo had not gotten into his dream school. He took all his frustration out on her, then turned and went back to his room. Jaemin came over and told her not to worry too much about their son. Within a few sentences, though, he brought the conversation right back to the divorce. Mina had almost stopped hoping. Then the university called. She had actually been accepted to the same university as her son. Mina thanked them over and over on the phone. She even bowed out of habit, though no one was standing in front of her. That night, she cooked a full table of food. Then she formally announced that she was going to college too. Junwoo thought his mother had lost her mind. He said it would be humiliating to go to the same school as her. Mina sat on the sofa, still holding on to one last hope. She thought that if she changed, Jaemin might reconsider the divorce. But he did not waver. Not even a little. With a mocking smile, he said going to college would not magically give them anything in common. In the end, he even knelt on the floor and begged her to let him go. The next day, Mina went to the hospital alone for a checkup. Thinking about how badly Jaemin wanted a divorce, a sad and ridiculous thought crossed her mind. If she were seriously ill, would he look back at her even once? But when the test results were placed in front of her, Mina broke down completely. The doctor's words followed Mina all the way to the bus stop: pancreatic cancer, possibly 6 months. She sat on the bench until the streetlights came on, crying so hard that she did not notice her phone being taken from beside her. When she finally returned home, even the ordinary sounds of the house felt distant. Junwoo brushed her off before she could say anything, and Jaemin only glanced up long enough to close his laptop. Mina stood in the doorway for a long moment before asking, "What if I died?" Jaemin did not even look startled. "Everyone dies eventually," he said. That night, Mina lay awake beside a man who had already left her in every way that mattered. The next day, the university called and urged her to pay her tuition as soon as possible. Otherwise, she would not be able to enroll. All the resentment Mina had been holding back finally burst out. She stormed to the school in anger. But the moment she stepped onto campus, she saw students rehearsing a stage play. It brought her back to herself in high school. Back then, she had practiced dancing with everything she had for the chance to perform on stage. The diagnosis made every ordinary day feel borrowed. For the first time in years, Mina stopped asking what Jaemin wanted and asked what she still wanted for herself. She ran home and found the tuition money her grandmother had hidden for her years ago, tucked inside a pillow. After paying the tuition, she officially became a college student. Hoping to have something in common with Jaemin, who had a PhD in psychology, Mina deliberately chose psychology classes. She also signed up for a course on marriage and intimate relationships. Mina thought college would be a fresh start. She never imagined she would be humiliated in public on her very first day. The teacher standing at the podium was Taejun. Mina had known him since high school. There had once been something unresolved between them. The moment Taejun saw her, he assumed she had come to cause trouble. He questioned her in front of everyone. "This is a classroom. What are you doing here?" Mina awkwardly explained that she was also a student in the class. After class, she called out to him in anger. She asked why he had embarrassed her in front of the entire room. Taejun coldly told her that if she could not handle it, she could switch classes. They used to be classmates. But now they were at a university. And here, she was supposed to call him professor. Feeling wronged, Mina went to Hayami and told her what happened. Hayami said she had not seen Taejun in a long time. Then she gave Mina a new phone. That night, Mina was looking for something in the study. When Jaemin saw her, his expression tightened. He immediately asked what she was doing. Then, looking guilty, he sat back down at his desk. Mina could tell he did not want her in the room. She was about to leave, but Jaemin stopped her and brought up the divorce again. Mina asked him to give her 3 more months. When Jaemin heard that, a flash of panic crossed his eyes. Mina reminded him that the divorce agreement only said they would get divorced. It never said exactly when the divorce had to be finalized. Jaemin quickly pulled out the agreement and checked it. There really was no final deadline written there. With no deadline to pressure her, he had no choice but to agree for now. Seeing how desperately her husband wanted to get away from her, Mina thought about how little time she had left. She could no longer hold back her tears. Afraid someone would hear her crying, she turned on the faucet and let the running water cover her breakdown. Her first real day on campus quickly stripped away the fantasy. She lost her phone on the subway, stumbled through library reservations, and sat through classes where every rule seemed designed for students half her age. In her marriage and intimacy class, the whole room laughed at her again because of a temporary couple assignment. Even her partner advised her to drop the class. In just one day, Mina seemed to experience every awkward thing college could throw at her. For the first time, she thought about quitting. But just as she was about to retreat, music from club recruitment began to play. Someone pulled her onto the stage to dance. Before her mind could catch up, her body remembered who she used to be. And in that moment, she decided she could not leave like this. To keep her son from finding out she attended the same university, Mina ate every day beside a remote patch of grass. The place smelled terrible, but she endured it anyway. Unexpectedly, Taejun appeared and asked why she was hiding there. Mina was about to leave when she saw someone even more unexpected. Her husband, Jaemin. She quickly sank into her chair and pulled her hat over her face. All she wanted was for her husband not to see her. But Taejun took her hat away and kept asking what she was hiding from. Only after Jaemin walked away did Mina finally breathe again. Taejun noticed something was wrong and asked why she was hiding from her husband. Mina did not answer. She stood up and left. Once no one was around, Mina called Jaemin's former workplace. The person on the phone told her Jaemin had already transferred to this university. Mina understood then. Jaemin had not just changed jobs. He had been hiding it from her the entire time. The last thing Mina wanted was to sit in Jaemin's psychology class and pretend nothing had happened between them. Desperate to switch out, she opened the campus website and tried to follow the instructions. But every button and notice seemed written for someone who already knew the system. A student noticed her confusion and offered to help. Mina followed the instructions without suspecting anything, only to find that her seat in the class had disappeared. She kept calling the office, asking why the system would not update. Until another student finally stepped in and told her the truth. She had been tricked into giving up her place. That night, Mina still stood at the door and waited for Jaemin to come home. Jaemin was already feeling guilty, so the sight of her startled him. Mina confronted him. Why had he changed jobs without telling her? Jaemin said confidently that they were already divorced. He no longer needed to report everything to her. Mina looked at the man in front of her and felt he had become shameless beyond belief. The next day, she hid in the quietest place at the university. Looking at her grandmother's photo, she could not stop crying. At school, she had been excluded and tricked. Taejun, her former friend, kept making things difficult for her. Her husband was coldly pushing her toward divorce. And she did not have much time left. When Mina looked up, Taejun was there again. The first thing he said was that he would help her get back into the class she had lost. Mina immediately wiped away her tears and asked if he was telling the truth. But Taejun told her to answer one question first. Why was she hiding from her husband and coming to college? The question set off all the resentment Mina had been holding back. Taejun also said he would go ask Jaemin the reason himself. When Mina heard that, she panicked. Hurt and humiliated, she apologized to Taejun. She begged him to stop making things difficult for her. She also promised she would never appear in front of him again. But now Taejun did not want her to drop the class. He quickly made an excuse and tried to smooth things over. Mina was confused by his inconsistent attitude. Since he really had contacted the psychology professor and helped her stay in the class, she stopped asking questions. Then Mina remembered something. She asked Taejun how he had recognized Jaemin that day. After all, she had never told Taejun who her husband was. She had never even told him what Jaemin looked like. But Taejun's knowledge of Jaemin was no coincidence. After Mina dropped out, he had once asked Hyami why it happened. That was how he learned Jaemin's name. As fate would have it, Jaemin was now the psychological counselor on the project Taejun was leading. Of course, Taejun did not tell Mina any of this. He simply made up an excuse. He said he had heard students mention that a psychology teacher was coming to the school. Mina's husband happened to specialize in psychology. So he claimed he had guessed it was Jaemin. Back at the office, the assistant looked at the class list and noticed something strange. Mina had clearly dropped the class. Yet her name had appeared on the list again. Had she reapplied after dropping it? Taejun calmly said he had changed his mind. He did not want her to drop the class. The assistant immediately sat up straight and asked if he had dated Mina before. Taejun did not hide it. He admitted it. Meanwhile, at home, Jaemin was forcing Mina to write an agreement. He was afraid she would change her mind after the divorce. So he insisted that she give him a written guarantee. Mina did not say much. She pressed her fingerprint onto it. She only hoped he would not regret it later. On the weekend, Mina advised Junwoo to rest for a day. During the meal, Jaemin casually handed his son his new business card. After Junwoo noticed the change on the card, Jaemin immediately began explaining. It sounded as if every word had been prepared in advance. Believing she did not have much time left, Mina went to the nursing home to say goodbye to the grandmothers there. She was afraid the elderly women would worry about her. So she made up a reason and said her husband was going abroad to become a professor. In the future, she might not be able to visit anymore. While helping the grandmothers hang laundry, Mina heard Taejun's voice coming from the radio. The program was talking about death. Mina thought of Jaemin saying something similar. She could not help arguing back. People who had never truly faced death had no right to talk about it so lightly. Then she remembered that her own time was running out. Slowly, she quieted down and listened to the rest of the broadcast. She began to think about how she should live the days she had left. Moved by the broadcast, Mina began writing about her life. Mina tried to write her life down, but the page filled too quickly. Her father's death. Her mother's remarriage. The years she spent depending on her grandmother. The dance school she had entered with so much hope, and the stage she left before she ever truly began. Then came Jaemin, the pregnancy, Germany, childbirth, and 20 years of meals, laundry, school forms, and waiting at doors. When she reached the final line, 6 months left, Mina stared at the paper in disbelief. A whole life had shrunk into a handful of sentences, and none of them sounded like a life she had chosen. In the end, she threw the autobiography away like a piece of trash. Standing on a busy street, Mina was overwhelmed by a fierce mix of regret and defiance. Her life seemed to be one loss after another. She lost her parents. She lost the stage. She lost her education. And in the end, she was about to lose even her marriage. But what hurt the most was this. After all these years, she had almost never made a real choice for herself. She called Hyami and complained that life had treated her far too unfairly. Pushed by all those emotions, Mina began buying things for herself. She also carefully made a study plan. When she got home, she was afraid Jaemin would find out and start controlling the household expenses. So she hurriedly hid the clothes inside a kitchen cabinet. After that, Mina wrote down her first wish. She wanted to reconcile with her son. She stood in front of Junwoo's door and gently ran her hand across it, as if she were touching her son's face. Her second wish was to finish the dance dream she had given up years ago. Mina wanted to join the dance club. But the club leader turned out to be Dongo, the same person who had been paired with her as a fake couple in her marriage and intimacy class. Dongo did not believe a 38-year-old freshman could start dancing again. In every possible way, he told her to give up. Mina refused to accept that. She said she would come back another day. Things became even more awkward when they were placed in the same group again in a later performance class. Dongo said he wanted to drop the class. Mina could only exchange contact information with another classmate first. After leaving the classroom, Mina hurried to the freshman welcome party. By the time she arrived, the party had already started. The moment she walked in, the room froze. Everyone had been holding up their glasses. But when they saw this freshman who was clearly much older than them, they all froze. Mina greeted everyone a little stiffly. Fortunately, the senior female student treated her like everyone else. She welcomed Mina warmly, just as she did the other freshmen, and told her to sit down. To ease the awkwardness, one freshman suggested playing a game. Just as the mood began to loosen, a notification popped up in the group chat. Everyone's expression changed. Someone had reported the party. The senior male student was about to tell everyone what to do. But before he could, the professor pushed the door open and walked in. The professor slipped between two female students as if he had done it many times before. He put one arm around a girl's shoulder. With his other hand, he grabbed the student beside him. He did not care whether either of them wanted it. The students tried to pull the girls away. But the professor immediately pressured them by bringing up their future careers. His meaning was clear. Anyone who refused to go along with him could not expect an easy future. Everyone understood the warning beneath his words. So they stayed silent. Mina could not hold back anymore. She called him out right there. This was not concern for his students. This was a professor taking advantage of female students. Once Mina exposed him, the professor panicked. Even then, he stubbornly insisted he was only looking out for his students. The male students worried the situation would spiral, so they tried to calm him down and get him to leave. After confronting the professor, Mina was shaken too. But to her surprise, the students started applauding her. Taejun happened to witness the whole scene. He had come because Yura wanted to talk about a collaboration involving Jaemin. But Jaemin was Mina's husband. And to Taejun, he was also a rival. So Taejun turned her down on the spot. Furious at his refusal, Yura used her status as the principal's daughter, along with the school's funding, to pressure him. Taejun did not back down. He simply told her that being the principal's daughter gave her no right to interfere in school affairs. Yura stormed off in anger. She did not even notice the pen she had dropped on the floor. Taejun had no idea that this pen would become the key to uncovering Jaemin and Yura's unusual relationship. The next day, Mina came to the study room and found that her classmates had saved her a seat, as if nothing had happened. Someone even joked about how embarrassed the professor had been the night before. But Mina could not laugh. She asked them a question instead. If they had always known what kind of person the professor was, why had no one spoken up before? That one sentence cut straight through the excitement from the night before. Their applause did not mean they were ready to face the consequences. Soon, the professor began pressuring them. The senior male student understood exactly what he wanted. First, he picked a fight. Then he used it as an excuse to force Mina to apologize. Of course Mina refused. She had done nothing wrong. But the same people who praised her bravery the night before now refused to stand up for her. At noon, Mina went to the cafeteria to eat. That was when she realized the people who had cheered for her were now blaming her for getting involved. She lowered her head and quietly found a corner to sit in. Dongo, the dance club leader, happened to overhear the whispers around her. Mina was so angry that she could not even eat. She could only leave in a hurry. The more she thought about it, the more hurt and wronged she felt. So she ran to Taejun to vent. Mina thought Taejun would take her side and call her classmates hypocrites. But Taejun told her that not everyone had the courage to go completely against a professor. And she could not demand that everyone stand up the way she did. Mina froze. Feeling wronged, she asked what she was supposed to do now. Taejun answered coldly. Did she not have a husband with a PhD in psychology? Why not ask him about something like this? Mina was so angry that she called him awful and turned to leave. But she did not notice that the notebook she always carried had fallen to the floor. Taejun picked it up and opened it. That was when he realized it was Mina's will. Just as Mina walked out of Taejun's studio, she received a call from the hospital. When she rushed over, the doctor told her the previous diagnosis had been wrong. She was not terminally ill at all. The moment Mina left the hospital, she could not wait to share the news with Hayami. She even excitedly suggested that Hayami write a wish list too. As she spoke, Mina reached for her notebook. But it was gone. Taejun had no idea the hospital had already corrected the diagnosis. He still believed Mina did not have much time left. The discovery hit him so hard that he cancelled his schedule for the day and kept reading through her wish list. The list was full of things she wanted to do. But one person was missing from it. Her husband, Jaemin. Mina was still worried about the notebook. It held more than just her wish list. It also had the study notes she had worked so hard to write. Hayami did not understand. If Mina was already fine, why was she still so determined to go to school? She also asked about the divorce. But Mina no longer fell apart the way she used to. After mistakenly believing she had come close to death, something in her seemed to have changed. At the neighborhood entrance, Mina ran into her son, Junwoo. Smiling, she broke into a youthful jog and hurried toward him. Junwoo was startled by his mother. He even asked if she had been drinking. Jaemin came home from work just in time to see them. He was about to accuse Mina of drinking. But Mina did not even look at him. She walked straight past him. After the incident with the professor, things only got harder for Mina at school. Her classmates began avoiding her. Dongo also grew distant because of the mock couple assignment. Taejun kept trying to return the notebook to her, but he could never find the right moment. So he hid it near a patch of grass she often passed. Just then, Jaemin and Mina appeared one after the other. Taejun could not let Jaemin discover that Mina was secretly attending college. So he grabbed her and covered her face with his coat. After Jaemin walked away, Mina found her notebook. Taejun complained that she was always losing things. But he still carried her heavy backpack for her. He even emptied a locker and let her use it. The same man who usually made life difficult for her was suddenly being considerate. For a moment, Mina did not know how to respond. Taejun thought he had hidden his concern well. He did not expect his assistant to see everything. The assistant was deeply disappointed. She asked if he was really willing to risk the school's funding because of Mina. Only then did Taejun tell her that Mina might be terminally ill. After hearing that, the assistant actually felt relieved. She had been afraid that 5 years of her work would be ruined because of Mina. Taejun remembered that Mina had once taken the college entrance exam for her husband. So he assumed her greatest wish was still to help Jaemin succeed. He contacted Jaemin himself and invited him to the studio to discuss a project. Jaemin was thrilled. After all, Taejun was a famous director. Jaemin rushed straight to Taejun's office. The two sat down to talk about the project. Each of them took out documents and a pen. During the conversation, Taejun deliberately tested Jaemin. If one spouse leaves first, how is the one left behind supposed to face it? Jaemin had no idea why Taejun was asking. Instead, he began answering as if he were giving a lecture. While he spoke, he casually picked up the pen on Taejun's desk. In the end, he slipped it right into his own pocket. Taejun was about to stop him. But Jaemin calmly said someone had given him that pen. That was when Taejun realized something was wrong. The pen was clearly the one Yura had dropped at the restaurant that day. Could Jaemin and Yura's relationship be more than ordinary cooperation? With that suspicion in mind, Taejun used their difference in opinions as an excuse to send Jaemin away. As he watched Jaemin leave, Taejun began thinking about how to deal with him and Yura. The next day, Taejun messaged Jaemin and Yura separately and asked them both to come to his office. Jaemin arrived cursing under his breath. But the moment he stepped inside, he froze. He had not expected Yura to be there too. Both of them sensed that something was wrong. They quickly tried to figure out what Taejun was planning. Then Taejun pushed the door open and walked in. Yura instantly let go of Jaemin's hand and rushed to explain that there was something on his clothes. Taejun only gave a cold laugh. Their guilty faces told him enough. Now he was ready to reveal why he had called them there. Around the same time, Dongo found Mina sitting alone in the classroom. She had stood up for everyone, yet everyone had turned away from her. Dongo was furious. The moment he entered the classroom, he heard their classmates still badmouthing Mina. Holding back his anger, Dongo walked to the podium. Then he challenged them. Would they only be satisfied once Mina dropped out? Standing outside the classroom, Mina heard every word. But one female classmate started blaming her too. She said Mina had blown the whole thing out of proportion and dragged everyone else into it. Mina remembered what Taejun had told her before. For the first time, she began to understand why her classmates were afraid. She started searching online for solutions. When she saw someone suggest keeping the peace, one question kept circling in her mind. Did she really have to apologize? Just then, her classmate Hani called and asked Mina to meet her at the bar where she worked. Hani still had to work, so Mina could only sit alone and wait. She noticed the younger students around her were all drinking the same cocktail. So she ordered one too. Before long, Hani placed a USB drive in front of Mina. Mina had not even processed what was happening when Hani told her what was on it. It was the video from that night, showing the professor touching the female students. Mina should have felt relieved to finally have evidence. But her first reaction was not relief. It was fear. She was afraid the professor would retaliate. She was even afraid that if the situation grew bigger, she would be the one taken away by the police. To numb the fear, she started drinking non-stop. When Hani realized something was wrong, she had no choice but to call Taejun. As it turned out, Taejun had already noticed Hani filming the professor at the freshman welcome party. He knew college was the one thing Mina could not let go of. She had finally started over, but after standing up for others, her classmates pushed her away. That was why he had called Hani over. He told Hani about Mina's situation. Only then did Hani realize Mina had gotten into trouble because of them. Mina had also helped her once on the subway. Out of guilt, Hani finally handed the video to Mina. Meanwhile, Jaemin and Yura were having a candlelit dinner. Yura sipped her wine and complained that time was passing too slowly. It turned out the two of them had been secretly together for a long time. They had even planned everything that would happen next. Jaemin would divorce in March. They would make their relationship public in September. They would get married next May. Then Yura asked whether Jaemin had gotten Mina's written guarantee. Once Jaemin confirmed it, they even raised their glasses to celebrate. Earlier, after Mina asked to delay the divorce by 3 months, Jaemin had gone to Yura to complain. To keep their wedding date from being pushed back, Yura told him to force Mina to write the guarantee. Back at the bar, Mina had gotten drunk without even realizing it. Worried that something might happen to her, Hani quickly called Taejun over. By the time Taejun arrived, Mina was barely lucid. All she could talk about was going to college. Taejun asked if finishing her studies really mattered that much to her. But being rejected by her classmates was not the only thing crushing her. For the first time, Mina wondered whether standing up that day had been worth it at all. The next day, Mina woke up and found herself back home. She vaguely remembered that Taejun had brought her home the night before. Taejun had also reminded her that she had never been the type to stay silent and swallow her anger. Back in high school, a man near their school had harassed students. Mina and Taejun had teamed up and taught him a harsh lesson. That memory helped Mina make up her mind. So she stopped hiding. She emailed the professor directly and demanded that he resign that very day. The professor acted calm, but he was already thinking about calling a lawyer and finding a way out. Then Taejun showed up. He calmly told the professor not to waste his energy. He had seen everything that happened that night. Once the issue with the professor was settled, Taejun called Mina to his studio. Before Mina could figure out what was going on, he asked her to read a script. Not long after, the doorbell rang. Taejun told Mina to greet the guest. But when Mina looked up, she froze. Standing at the door was her husband, Jaemin. And right then, Taejun deliberately put his arm around her. Flustered, Mina lowered her head and reminded him in a tiny voice that this was the father of her child. Only then did Taejun pretend to realize who Jaemin was. He quickly let go and deliberately blamed Mina for not introducing them sooner. Then he explained to Jaemin that he was Mina's best friend from high school. Mina hurried to apologize to her husband. But the more careful Mina became, the less Taejun understood. Why was she acting so small and cautious in front of her own husband? After work, the three of them walked Jaemin out. Taejun stepped forward first and opened the car door for him. He looked like a gentleman, though the gesture also felt a little deliberate. Jaemin had no choice but to get into the car. Watching the two old classmates seem so familiar with each other, Jaemin suddenly felt like the outsider. After they returned to the studio, Mina immediately confronted Taejun. She could not understand why he had arranged for them to meet when he knew her greatest fear was Jaemin finding out she was secretly attending college. Taejun said he was helping her. That answer instantly put Mina on alert. She took half a step back and asked why he had suddenly become so kind to her. Taejun did not explain. He simply changed the subject back to work and told her to keep reading the script. The two stayed busy until 8 o'clock that night. Mina was already starving. Taejun told her to wait a little longer. His assistant would eat with them too. Just then, the assistant rushed in and said her mother had suddenly fallen ill, so she could not stay. She still had 2 movie tickets in her hand. Since the tickets were about to go to waste, she asked Mina to use them for her. Taejun naturally took the tickets and said Jaemin had already agreed to let Mina come home later. They might as well go see the movie together. Before Mina could fully react, Taejun had already led her into the theater. After the movie ended, the two went out for grilled skewers. The tension between them eased, and Mina began talking to Taejun on her own. She asked whether he was married. Taejun said he did not want to get married. He said he did not want a woman to get married and end up like Mina, with nothing left but her husband and family. Mina then asked why he kept praising her like that. Taejun looked at her seriously. He said he was not praising her on purpose. She was already good enough. Meanwhile, after leaving the studio, Jaemin went straight to meet Yura for a date. But as he sat at the table, his mind stayed on Mina and Taejun. He was worried Taejun might cause trouble between him and Mina. Yura noticed he seemed distracted and assumed there was another problem with his project. Jaemin made an excuse and left early. When Jaemin came home, Mina's room was empty. He told himself he was only annoyed, but every small sound from the hallway pulled him out of the study. First time, it was only Junwoo. Later, from the window, he saw Taejun's car stop downstairs. Taejun opened the door for Mina and stayed beside her for a while, speaking in a low voice Jaemin could not hear. The sight bothered him more than he wanted to admit. For years, Mina had waited for him. Now he was the one watching from a distance. Mina quietly slipped inside. She was about to return to her room when Jaemin called her into the study. Once the door closed, Jaemin first scolded her for coming home so late. Then he anxiously asked whether she had told Taejun about their divorce. He also stressed that their son could not hear rumors about Mina at school. The more Mina listened, the stranger it felt. She asked why he suddenly had so much to say that night. Only then did Jaemin realize he had sounded too anxious. So he faked a yawn and pretended he was sleepy. The next day, Hani called Mina and told her the professor really was going to resign. Because of that incident, the two gradually became friends. After helping Mina fulfill one wish, Taejun went to Yura's office to deal with another problem. He returned the pen he had picked up to Yura. He also warned her to be more careful about the man she was dating. Meanwhile, Mina finally began fitting into college life. She went to the dance club to complete the mock couple assignment for her marriage and intimacy class. When she saw the students rehearsing, she could not help dancing along. That was when the club members realized she was the Mina they had been looking for. They quickly sent a message to the club leader. Halfway through the club interview, Mina turned around and realized the person in charge was Dongo. She hurried to explain that someone had told her to come in for the interview. Dongo did not make it complicated. Since she had already gone through the interview, he said she might as well join. Afterward, they ate together, took photos, and completed the mock couple assignment without any trouble. Over the meal, Mina thanked Dongo for standing up for her in class. Dongo got a little shy, and the tension between them finally eased. Taejun's assistant happened to witness all of it. She was thrilled. In her mind, with her help, Mina was finally starting to live like a normal college student. She reported the news to Taejun right away. On her way back, the assistant ran into Jaemin. Wanting to give Mina a chance to fix her marriage, she handed Jaemin the play tickets she had meant to use with her mother. She also told him he had to go with the person he truly loved. After the club activity ended, Mina's son caught her secretly attending college again. Sure enough, the moment she got home that night, Jaemin started blaming her. He demanded that she apply for withdrawal immediately. Mina looked sorry, but she did not back down. She told Jaemin she would not drop out. When they heard their son's voice, they had to stop arguing for the time being. The conversation ended badly. Later, Mina went to her son's room. He could not understand her decision either, and he also hoped she would leave school. Mina patiently promised that she would not interfere with his campus life. Even if they crossed paths at school, she would pretend not to know him. Jaemin still wanted to talk to Mina again, but her bedroom door was already locked. No matter how hard he knocked, she refused to open it. The next morning, Mina stepped out of her room and found Jaemin and Junwoo sitting on the sofa, looking as if they had been waiting to confront her. This time, Mina offered no explanation and made no retreat. She ignored them and walked straight out. Taejun gave Mina another set of tickets for the same show, saying it was payment for her part-time work. He only wanted to give Mina a chance to relax. He had no idea his assistant had already given the other set to Jaemin in private. The real problem came when Jaemin saw Mina pretend not to know Junwoo at school, just as she had promised her son. That scene pushed him past his limit. He could no longer sit still, so he went straight to Taejun's office. He questioned Taejun, asking if he had known all along that Mina was attending school. Taejun simply asked why he should have said anything. Later, Taejun returned to the studio and found his assistant there, even though she was supposed to be at the play. She explained that she had given the tickets to Jaemin, hoping it would bring him and Mina closer. Taejun froze when he heard that. He called Mina at once, but no matter how many times he tried, the call would not go through. By the time Taejun reached the theater, he was already too late. Mina had seen Jaemin gently taking care of another woman with her own eyes. Taejun instinctively covered her eyes. Mina pushed his hand away. She did not want anyone else deciding when she could face the truth. When Jaemin began walking toward them, Mina turned and ran. She walked down the road alone, and memories from 2 years earlier flooded back. Back then, her husband had looked down on her. For years, she had believed she was not good enough and did not deserve Jaemin. In that moment, she finally understood. Maybe she had not been the one who changed. Maybe it had been Jaemin. Taejun could not stop worrying about her, so he followed in his car from a distance. After Hayami arrived to stay with Mina, Taejun finally stopped and stood quietly away from them. Mina could not hold herself together anymore. She broke down and poured out all the hurt she had carried for 20 years. Taejun returned to the studio furious. When his assistant saw his face, she quickly asked what had happened. Taejun blamed her for giving the tickets to Jaemin. But by the end, it sounded less like blame toward her and more like blame toward himself. He blamed himself for failing to protect Mina. That night, Mina acted as if nothing had happened. She went home as usual and cleaned up her son's room. When Jaemin came back, he brought up divorce outright. Mina looked at the man in front of her and felt nothing but disgust. She did not want to stay in that house for even one more minute. The next day, Taejun happened to run into Jaemin. He deliberately asked whether Jaemin had gone to the performance with Mina the night before. Jaemin lied and said something had come up, so he had given the tickets to someone else. Looking at this man, so full of lies, Taejun was so angry he almost lost control. Then he saw Mina approaching. He forced his anger down, turned around, and left. When Taejun went to the club, he saw that Mina was clearly unwell, yet she was still forcing herself to clean. Watching her push through it made his heart ache. Wanting to help Mina feel better, Taejun went to see her best friend, Hayami. Hayami was surprised and did not understand why he had come to her out of nowhere. Taejun told her he already knew about Mina's terminal illness and had seen the wishes Mina had written down. He asked Hayami to help him stay by Mina's side and complete those wishes. After hearing him out, Hayami agreed. But she did not tell Taejun that Mina had actually been misdiagnosed. On April Fool's Day, Hayami dressed Mina in their old high school uniforms and took her on the high school memory day tour Taejun had arranged. They went back to their old school, met their old friend Jack, and remembered how Mina and Hayami had first become friends through Mina's grandmother's tteokbokki shop. For that one day, it almost felt as if they had gone back to their youth. They wandered around campus, danced, and played together. On the bus, a hard stop sent Mina falling against Taejun, wrapping her arms around him from behind. They both grew awkward. After they got off the bus, Mina said the whole day felt like a lie. She had not felt that light in a very long time. Taejun watched her leave, hoping she could keep living so freely. While waiting for the elevator, Mina realized her son was also wearing a high school uniform. Her first reaction was not anger. She was only worried about what would happen if Jaemin found out. Mother and son sneaked into the house together. But Jaemin had been waiting, and he still caught them. He questioned why they were both wearing school uniforms. When he learned Mina had even encouraged their son to go to a bar, he understood her even less. Mina calmly said that studying also required a balance between work and rest. Then she turned and headed for her room. Jaemin still had more to say, but Mina shut the door in his face. Early the next morning, Taejun texted Mina and told her to come to the studio that night. But Mina's biggest wish now was not to rely on anyone. The first thing she wanted was to break free from Jaemin's financial control. So she found a part-time job at a convenience store. She became so busy that she completely forgot her appointment with Taejun. Taejun waited for her, but when he called, she gave him no clear answer. With no other choice, he went to the convenience store. To Taejun, Mina did not have much time left. Seeing her work herself so hard made him both angry and anxious. Mina finally told him the truth. She had only been misdiagnosed. When Taejun heard that, all the strength seemed to drain from his body. He let out a long breath of relief and sank to the floor. To thank Taejun, Mina made several lunch boxes just for him. Jaemin assumed they were for him. When he realized they were meant for Taejun, his face darkened. He warned Mina to keep her distance from Taejun. But the moment Mina went back to her room, he secretly tasted one anyway. At school, Mina wanted to give Junwoo the lunchbox herself. Then she remembered what her son had asked of her. At school, they had to act like strangers. So she handed it to Junwoo's girlfriend instead. From a distance, she watched her son eat happily. Then she noticed Jaemin walking toward Junwoo. Mina immediately realized what would happen. If Jaemin saw the girl, Junwoo's relationship would be exposed. There was no time to explain. Mina rushed over, grabbed the girl's hand, and ran. Junwoo was left standing there in total confusion. Then he turned around and saw his father already nearby. Not long after, Junwoo texted Mina and asked to meet. The moment they met, he asked how she had found out about his relationship. It turned out Mina had seen him and his girlfriend on the day they argued. Junwoo could not understand why she had hidden it from his father and taken the blame for him. Mina believed Junwoo was at an age where he should be allowed to enjoy his youth. If Jaemin found out, he would force Junwoo to break up with her. After that conversation, Mina went to the studio to see Taejun. But the moment Taejun saw her, he told her not to come back. Mina froze where she stood. She thought the studio still needed her help. Taejun said that had only been an excuse. He told her he had let her stay because he felt sorry for her. Mina was not ready to accept that. She asked if they had not already made peace. Weren't they friends now? Taejun only turned colder. If he had known she was not dying, he said, he would never have wasted so much time on her. Mina was hurt too. She snapped back, asking who had ever asked for his sympathy. After Taejun found out Mina had only been misdiagnosed, the first person he went to see was Hayami. He demanded to know why Hayami had kept the truth from him. Hayami reminded him that back in school, he had been the one who always bullied Mina. If Mina had hidden the truth from him, maybe that was her way of getting revenge. Taejun then asked why Mina, after everything she had been through, was still living around her husband's moods. Hayami hesitated for a long time. She still did not tell him about the divorce agreement. She only told him to stop interfering in Mina's life. Taejun had never wanted to admit that he cared about Mina. The misdiagnosis made him feel like he had been fooled. So he twisted his concern into resentment. The more he talked, the more hurtful his words became. The next morning, Mina and Taejun ran into each other again, and the tension came right back. Mina stormed off, only to leave her phone behind in the storage locker. When Taejun found it, he locked the locker on purpose. He also cancelled the project with Jaemin. It was as if he wanted to push both Mina and Jaemin out of his life at the same time. Desperate to get her phone back, Mina had to find Taejun and ask for the key. Taejun dragged things out on purpose. He also reminded her coldly that not just anyone could enter his office. The words cut deep. Mina could only hide in the bathroom and cry. Just then, Yura rushed out and forgot her phone. Mina chased after her to return it. Instead, she unexpectedly received a large bouquet of flowers. Yura happened to see the whole thing. Mina immediately ruled out Jaemin. After all these years, Jaemin had never really given her flowers. To Mina, it felt like the first bouquet she had ever received. Meanwhile, Taejun got a message saying the delivery had been completed. Only then did he remember he had forgotten to cancel the order. He regretted it immediately. Seeing Mina receive flowers unsettled Yura too. It was not the flowers themselves that she envied. It was the fact that someone could care for Mina openly. She and Jaemin were lovers. Yet even their dates had to stay hidden. Taejun's earlier words came back to her. For the first time, Yura began wondering whether a relationship that had to stay hidden could really have a future. Jaemin asked Yura to go to an art exhibition. It was the place where their relationship had begun. But now, the place no longer felt sweet. Instead, it made one thing painfully clear. They still could not stand together in public. Yura complained that they always had to be careful and avoid suspicion. Jaemin could only comfort her by saying he would get divorced soon. But the real reason he had asked her out was to talk about the project Taejun had cancelled. Seeing how emotionally unstable Yura was, he kept those words to himself. When Jaemin returned home, he took all his anxiety out on Mina and kept pressuring her to drop out. After keeping the phone locked away all night, Taejun finally took it out. He saw that Jaemin had been calling Mina again and again. Worried it might cause trouble between Mina and her husband, he went to return it immediately. He happened to run into Mina, who had come to get the phone herself. Then Jaemin called again and told Mina to meet him at a restaurant. When they met, Jaemin pushed a withdrawal application in front of her. He acted as if he was doing her a favor. He said that if Mina dropped out, he might choose not to divorce her. Mina did not hesitate for even a second. Even if they divorced, she would still finish college. With that, she tore the application apart. When Jaemin realized the school threat would not work, he brought up custody of their son. Mina gave a cold laugh and asked whether the other woman would really agree to live with his son. Jaemin panicked and asked why she would say something like that. Mina told him Hyami had seen him at the play that day, carrying another woman's bag. Jaemin was about to explain, but Mina cut him off. She remembered clearly that when they were abroad, he had not even wanted to touch her bag. And it was not just about the bag. Someone had already seen Jaemin holding that woman's hand. Jaemin chased after her, trying to explain. He said he had only started seeing another woman after signing the divorce agreement. Mina did not want to hear another word. She got straight on a bus and left. Back at the office, Jaemin thought it over and became even more convinced that Mina did not truly want to leave him. He believed she was only pretending not to care so she could make him nervous. In his narcissistic mind, if a woman knew her husband had someone else and still did not confront him, there could be only one reason. She still loved him. So that night, he rushed home, ready to cut off Mina's feelings for him once and for all. After canceling the project, Taejun could not shake his uneasiness. He worried Jaemin would take his anger out on Mina. So early the next morning, he drove to the college entrance and waited. When he saw Mina, he got out and started talking to her, trying to read her reaction. The first thing Mina asked was whether he had sent the flowers. When Taejun did not answer, she changed the subject and complained that he had cost her the part-time job. Taejun knew he was in the wrong. But to save face, he still threw out a few sarcastic remarks before leaving. After that, Taejun went to see Yura and told her that Jaemin had already withdrawn from the project. Meanwhile, Jaemin hoped Junwoo would step in and convince Mina to give up college. To his surprise, Junwoo took his mother's side. He agreed that she should keep studying. Jaemin still wanted to persuade his son, but then he received a text from Yura asking to meet. Before long, the conflict between Jaemin and Yura grew worse. Yura was upset that he had pulled out of Taejun's project. Even if he felt uncomfortable, she believed he should not have thrown away the opportunity so easily. Jaemin appeared calm on the surface, but inside, he felt looked down on. He did not keep arguing. Instead, he quietly decided to find another investor and prove himself to Yura through results. At the same time, Mina was slowly finding her place at school again. During a dance club rehearsal, one of the girls twisted her ankle. No one knew what to do. Drawing from her own experience with dance injuries, Mina handled the situation skillfully. This time, the students in the club started seeing her differently. Whenever Jae-hye went out, she stopped by Jack's restaurant and bought Taejun's favorite tteokbokki. 2 years earlier, she had confessed her feelings to Taejun, but he had turned her down. Even so, she stayed by his side as his assistant. But Jae-hye knew very well that Taejun still had not let go of Mina. This time, Jae-hye had just handed Taejun the tteokbokki when he turned around and shoved it into Mina's hands. The lunchbox was still warm. Mina could not help asking why he would throw away food that had just been bought. Taejun only said, "Throw it away or don't. Do whatever you want." Mina felt uneasy, but she still could not waste it. She opened the lunchbox and took a bite. Then she froze. It tasted exactly like the food her grandmother used to make years ago. She called Taejun right away and asked where the restaurant was. Taejun hung up on her. Then he warned Jae-hye not to tell Mina the address under any circumstances. Jae-hye could not understand why a restaurant had to be kept secret. What she did not know was that back in high school, Taejun had been close to Mina's grandmother. He had often gone to that restaurant for free meals. Mina then ran to Taejun's office and anxiously asked for the address of the rice cake shop. She said she truly missed the taste of her grandmother's cooking. Taejun scolded her instead. He said she had not even attended her grandmother's funeral. So she had no right to say she missed her. Mina froze. Later, she asked her close friend about it and finally learned the truth. Taejun had stayed at her grandmother's funeral for 3 full days. Now she understood why Taejun had always been warm one moment and cold the next. When she looked at her wish list again, she realized almost every completed wish had something to do with Taejun. The next day at school, Mina thanked Taejun out loud and said she would stop bothering him. But when Taejun realized she truly meant to keep her distance, he became irritated instead. Back then, everyone had laughed at his dream. Mina had been the only one who took him seriously. Now he kept making things difficult for her again and again. Even he knew it was pathetic. That night, Taejun went to see Mina himself. In front of a convenience store, the two finally talked things through and made peace. Since Taejun had caused Mina to lose her part-time job, he invited her to help out at his studio. One day, Hani complained that her boss was withholding her wages. Mina brought Dongo along to back Hani up. She made the boss pay every cent, and Dongo admired her even more. On the day of the school festival, the dance club ran into a crisis. One girl's foot was badly swollen, and she could not go on stage. Dongo had no choice but to ask Mina for help. But when Mina imagined stepping onto a stage at her age, fear took over. What if people laughed at her? She turned around and tried to run. Taejun happened to see her. He stopped Mina and refused to let her run away again. 20 years earlier, Mina had also had a chance to stand on stage. Taejun had been the director of that performance. But right before the show, he received a call saying his father had collapsed. He rushed to the hospital and missed Mina's most important performance. This time, he did not want to watch Mina lose that chance again. His words moved Mina. She finally found the courage to step onto the stage. When the lights came up, it was as if she had found the girl she had been 20 years ago. Everyone below the stage was stunned. Watching her, Taejun remembered the days when they had rehearsed together. Back then, everyone had laughed at Taejun's dream. Mina had been the only one who believed in him. The two of them had even written a time capsule filled with blessings for each other. Taejun had planned to confess to Mina after the performance. But his father's accident made him miss that chance completely. That same day, Jaemin saw Mina dance for the first time. He was deeply drawn to her. When the dance ended, Taejun left without saying a word. He pulled out the confession letter from 20 years ago, the one he had never been able to give her. Looking at it, he realized his feelings for Mina had never faded. After the festival, Mina returned to the stage alone. She pictured her younger self standing beneath the lights, performing. Then she finally broke down. She knew some dreams from her youth could never be finished now. Afterward, Mina made a lunchbox especially to thank Taejun. When Taejun received it, he treated it like something precious. He could not bring himself to share even a single bite. But his good mood did not last long. Yura told him she and Jaemin would be attending an overnight seminar together. Taejun had no choice but to ask his assistant to pack his things so he could go with them. Meanwhile, Junwoo was worried about his grades. If they were too low, his father would send him to the military. His girlfriend asked what the cutoff was. Junwoo could not remember, so he went into his father's study to look for the agreement. But while searching, he found something else. His parents' divorce agreement. The next day, Jae-hai asked Mina to deliver some documents to Taejun. Mina never expected to run into Jaemin and Yura at the seminar. She had only planned to drop off the documents and leave. But Yura insisted that she stay for dinner. Mina kept watching Jaemin's reaction, and she ate too fast, too nervously. Right after dinner, she went outside and threw up. Taejun noticed she was unwell and quickly pulled her aside to rest. Jaemin had come there to spend time with Yura in secret. But when he saw Taejun taking care of Mina, his possessiveness as her husband flared up again. When they met again, he deliberately acted like Mina's husband, making sure Taejun saw it. Taejun saw through him right away. Jaemin was playing the role of Mina's husband in front of him while secretly planning a date with Yura for the next day. So after the seminar, Taejun suggested the four of them compete in a bike ride. Then he quickly paired himself with Mina. On the surface, it looked like a simple race. In reality, Taejun was exposing Jaemin's hypocrisy. It also made Jaemin notice something for the first time. Mina seemed more relaxed beside someone else than she ever did with him. That loss of control made Jaemin furious. On the way back, he kept speeding up, as if leaving Taejun behind could give him that control back. But when they reached the rest stop, he started pretending to care about Mina. He bought flowers to coax her. Then he immediately demanded that she keep her distance from Taejun. Mina could not hold it in anymore. She snapped back that he had no right to control her. After that, they drove home in silence. Taejun quietly waited downstairs at Mina's home. When he saw her holding a bouquet of flowers, he thought his plan had finally worked. For a moment, he felt it had all been worth it. Back at the studio, Taejun asked Jae-hai when she had become so interested in other people's business. Jae-hai quickly explained that she just did not want to watch him fall for someone he could never have. Taejun fell silent. He took out the things tied to his memories of Mina and meant to burn them. But in the end, he still could not do it. He knew then that he could not let go either. The next day, Mina came to the studio in high spirits and told Taejun she had completed a couple's date mission with her partner. To Taejun, everything she described sounded like something a boyfriend should have done anyway. He could not help asking what dating had been like for her. Mina's expression changed. She quickly made an excuse and went back to work. She remembered the time her son had been sick and crying nonstop. Jaemin had not cared. He had not helped. He had even lost his temper at her. Back then, Mina had no choice. She carried the child out by herself. Once Jaemin secured the investment, the first thing he did was go to Taejin's studio to show off. It was as if he wanted to make up for every humiliation he had swallowed before. He acted like a winner and said he would never join one of Taejin's projects again. Before leaving, he ordered Taejin to stay away from Mina. Then he questioned why Taejin was getting close to Mina while also involving himself in Yura's business. Taejin was not intimidated. Instead, he threw the question straight back at Jaemin. The person who needed to stay away from others was not Taejin. It was Jaemin, the man dragging his wife along while still refusing to let go of his lover. Taejin warned him to clean up his own mess before Mina exposed everything. He also told him not to interfere with her college life anymore. Taejin's words hit too close to the truth, and Jaemin felt guilty. Soon after, Yura began questioning him too. Jaemin quickly explained that working under Taejin had been too suffocating, and that working for a large group sounded more respectable. But Yura had already started wondering whether the man in front of her truly wanted to marry her. After Junwoo found the divorce agreement, he went to see Hyami. He did not expect this aunt, whom he had never met before, to recognize him at first sight. After they greeted each other, Junwoo said he had seen his parents' divorce agreement. He could not understand why his mother would go to college when she was about to get divorced. Since Hyami realized he already knew, she told him everything she knew. After learning the truth, Junwoo went to his father's study. Still holding on to a final bit of hope, he said his mother had gone to college entirely for his father. But Jaemin cut him off and sent him away with a casual excuse. Jaemin thought back to his lover's words and realized he still liked Mina. But compared with staying the husband of an ordinary woman, he was even less willing to give up his chance to marry into a powerful family. When Junwoo returned to his room, he found Mina cleaning it for him. Mina proudly told him she had bought the blanket with money she earned from her part-time job. Seeing her still worrying about him like always, Junwoo felt a sudden rush of hurt. He asked why she had hidden something as serious as her illness from him. Mina froze. Then Junwoo took out the divorce agreement. Mina realized her son already knew everything. All she could do was apologize. She said she had only wanted to properly experience college life first. After that, she had planned to tell him everything. But what hurt Junwoo most was not the divorce agreement. It was that his mother might not have much time left, yet she still wanted to carry everything alone. He had almost lost the chance to face it with her. Mother and son finally talked everything through. Mina also told Junwoo seriously that she wanted a divorce. She hoped he could support her decision. Junwoo thought of his mother on the school festival stage. On that stage, she had shown. She had talent. She should not have spent her whole life trapped by other people's expectations. So he decided to let go and let his mother live for herself, even if it was only once. With her son's support, Mina asked Jaemin to meet and settle everything. The next day, she met him at a restaurant and told him to go to court with her as soon as possible to handle the divorce. Jaemin was stunned. He was the one who had brought up divorce first. But now, their positions had completely reversed. Mina also told him she had seen him watching a stage play with another woman that day. Jaemin felt his pride had been challenged. All of a sudden, he no longer wanted a divorce. This time, Mina stood firm. She insisted on divorcing him. Jaemin could not handle it. While Mina was answering a phone call, he used an appointment as an excuse and fled in a panic. He refused the divorce out loud. But the moment he turned around, he ordered a flower basket for Yura. When the flowers arrived in Yura's hands, the card happened to fall off. Yura mistakenly thought they were from Taejin, so she drove over to confront him. But when she arrived, she saw Taejin and Mina walking side by side. Yura secretly looked into Mina's identity. That was when she learned Mina was Jaemin's wife. She immediately went to Jaemin and demanded the truth. But Jaemin refused to admit he had done anything wrong. Instead, he pushed the blame onto Mina. He said Mina loved him too much and had secretly gone through the college entrance process without telling the family. He claimed he had only found out recently. When he saw Yura getting more upset, Jaemin began comforting her again. He said he was already looking for a way to solve it, and that he had even ordered a flower basket for her. But Yura suddenly remembered Taejin's earlier warning. She realized Taejin had known the truth for a long time. Knowing she had been kept in the dark all along, Yura was so angry that she collapsed onto the sofa. Seeing her lose control, Jaemin did not dare stay any longer. He found a random excuse and left. Meanwhile, Taejun went to the bank and exchanged some new bills so he could pay Mina. On his way back, he happened to run into her. Curious, Mina asked why he had gone to Russia to study. Taejun asked why she was prying into someone else's privacy. That one sentence made the atmosphere awkward. After that, the three of them worked late into the night. Jae-hye had something else to do, so before leaving, she asked Mina to organize the meeting notes. Taejun felt awkward being alone with Mina, so he made an excuse and told her to go home early. Mina was happy to receive her part-time pay and wanted to treat Taejun to a meal. After Mina left, Taejun stood at a distance and watched her go, but Mina suddenly turned around. Startled, Taejun quickly hid. As soon as Mina returned home, she saw Jaemin waiting there. The two went into the study. Mina asked what time they would handle the divorce the next day. Jaemin began making excuses and refused to agree. He even took out a written promise, hoping Mina would give him one more chance. Mina found it ridiculous. Right in front of him, she tore the promise to pieces. Then she told him that if he did not handle the paperwork the next day, she would take legal action. That was when Jaemin finally gave the real reason. He was at a critical point in his promotion and could not afford any negative news. For their son's sake, Mina temporarily agreed to give him more time. But she was afraid Jaemin would go back on his word. So she pressed him for a specific date and wrote it on the calendar. Now that the divorce had a date, Mina began seriously planning her future living expenses. When she heard her son come home, she took out part of her wages and gave it to him. The next day, Mina was struggling with a PowerPoint when she heard her son's voice beside her. Now that mother and son shared a small secret, they became closer than before. When it was time for work, Mina planned to stop by the classroom building first and put down her books. She was texting as she walked and did not notice her printed materials fall out. Jaemin happened to pass by. He picked them up and returned them to her. Then he stood there and watched Mina leave. Yura happened to pass by and saw everything. Mina caught the shadow behind her in a roadside mirror. Yura. Instead of turning around, she walked into the restroom to test her suspicion. A few seconds later, Yura followed, wearing the kind of casual smile that only made her look more suspicious. Mina saw the caller ID again. Cousin. Her suspicion deepened at once. Yura had no choice but to pretend to take the call and leave in a hurry. After that, Mina arrived at the studio and started cleaning as she moved through the space. She figured Taejun was usually too busy to clean the rest area, so she went upstairs. Just then, Taejun came back. The two ran into each other at the stairway. Startled, Mina lurched forward and fell straight into Taejun's arms. They both froze. Then they hurried to find something to say, anything to cover the awkwardness. Mina explained that she had only noticed the pillows were dirty and wanted to wash them. Taejun looked calm on the outside, but inside, he was panicking. The box with the confession letter was still upstairs. Once Mina went downstairs, he quietly breathed a sigh of relief. After that hug, the atmosphere between them changed. Taejun was afraid things would become even more awkward if they stayed there. So he made an excuse and told Mina to go home first. Mina was not doing any better. Her heart still would not calm down. When she heard that, she quickly left the studio. The security bars at Hani's home had been damaged. She was too scared to go back alone. She had no choice but to call Mina for help. Mina was scared too, but she still went with Hani to make sure no one was inside. The security bars could not be fixed right away. Hani did not dare stay there alone, so the two women spent the night at a Korean sauna. Mina only texted Junwoo. She did not tell Jaemin. When Jaemin discovered Mina had not come home, his first reaction was not worry. It was suspicion. He assumed she was with Taejun. So he went straight to Taejun's studio. Taejun contacted people one by one and eventually found out from Hani where Mina was. Then he rushed to the Korean sauna too. Seeing that Taejun knew Mina's whereabouts better than he did, Jaemin realized something for the first time. As her husband, he had stopped knowing her a long time ago. After Taejun arrived, he scolded Mina for being too careless. But he did not force her to go home. He simply stayed to look after them. When the night grew quiet, he sat beside Mina as she slept and said nothing. Later, Junwoo heard the door open and thought his mother had come home. That was when Jaemin realized his son had known all along that Mina would not be coming home that night. He questioned Junwoo, asking why he had kept it from him. Junwoo fired back, asking when he had ever truly cared about his mother. In the middle of the night, Mina woke up and found Taejun lying beside her. She jolted awake and rushed out of the sauna. On the way home, her heart would not settle down. For a moment, she even wondered if something was wrong with her body. But what she could not admit was this. Her feelings for Taejun were no longer just awkward. When Taejun woke up and realized Mina was gone, he quickly called her. Mina forced herself to sound calm. She only said the sauna had been too hot, so she had gone home first. Taejun reminded her to tell her husband. Mina did not respond to that. She only asked him to take good care of Hani. After hanging up, she touched her burning face. She realized she could no longer face Taejun the way she used to. The next morning, after Taejun finished replacing Hani's security window, he went to the school. Mina saw him from a distance. Her first instinct was to walk over and say hello. But the panic from the night before rushed back. In the end, she hid off to the side. As soon as Taejun arrived at the office, Yura came looking for him. She said she had misunderstood a few things. But what she really meant was a warning. Taejun needed to stop talking carelessly at school. From that warning, Taejun picked up on something else. Mina was already preparing for a divorce. Taejun went quiet. Until then, all he had seen was Mina catching her husband cheating and staying silent. He had mistaken that silence for weakness. Now he understood. Mina had not failed to fight back. She had been carrying the pain of divorce by herself. The thought of how unfairly he had judged her made Taejun feel terrible. He began to wonder if he should be gentler with her. Later that day, Mina and Jae-hye were at the studio, about to order food. Mina remembered the tteokbokki Taejun had once given her. So she asked for the restaurant's address. Then she asked Hayami to go with her. When they arrived, the owner turned out to be Jack, Mina's high school friend. Jack welcomed them warmly. He also told Mina that after her grandmother passed away, Taejun found her tteokbokki recipe while sorting through her things. Later, Taejun bought the restaurant and kept it open. He had done it just so her grandmother's flavor could live on. Mina took a bite of the tteokbokki she had missed for so long. The emotions hit her all at once. When Jack saw that she could not stop crying, he quickly called Taejun. But Taejun did not ask him to comfort Mina. He told Jack to close the shop and let her cry as much as she needed. Jack thought Taejun was joking. But there was no laughter in Taejun's voice. He knew Mina was going through a divorce. He also knew he could not approach her recklessly. So the only role he allowed himself was older brother. Someone who could care for her carefully without crossing the line. This time, he stayed away. He only asked Jack to close the shop and let Mina cry it out. After Mina composed herself and returned to the studio, Taejun used a meeting as an excuse. He took Mina, Jae-hye, and the others camping. He asked Mina to sit and read the script while he cooked. It looked like a last-minute plan. In reality, he just wanted to change the scenery so she could breathe through the guilt over her grandmother. Mina watched him moving around from behind. Her heart started wavering again. She knew Taejun was good to her. But she was still in the middle of a messy divorce. She did not dare respond to his kindness too easily. Taejun understood that too. That was why he later half-jokingly suggested she treat him like an older brother. That title became a safety line. It let him keep caring for her without forcing her to face those feelings yet. The two of them bickered awkwardly for a moment. In the end, Mina still called him older brother. After going home, she received a text from Taejun. She could not help smiling as she texted back to thank him. The next day, while Junwoo was on a date, he unexpectedly discovered that his mother was working at a convenience store. He ended the date immediately. Then he went home and questioned his father. Did he know Mom had already started working so she could pay for college? Jaemin was shocked when he heard it. But what hit him hardest was not how hard Mina was working. It was that his own son had exposed his failure as a husband and father. After getting the address, he rushed straight to the convenience store. As soon as he reached the entrance, he heard the manager telling Mina to take the nearly expired food home. Jaemin snapped. He rushed inside and demanded to know why the manager was calling Mina ma'am. Then he turned on Mina, saying she should not be working in a place like this. In a burst of anger, he tried to hit someone. Instead, he slammed into a shelf and fell to the floor. In the end, he had to pay for the damage. And because of him, Mina lost her job. Mina angrily asked Jaemin why he had interfered with her job. His answer only disappointed her more. He said it would embarrass him if she worked at a convenience store. Mina reminded him that they were already preparing for a divorce. He had no right to control her life anymore. Jaemin threw the question back at her. Was she planning to date Taejun now? Mina was too exhausted to argue. She turned and left. At the subway station, Mina noticed small, intimate moments between couples around her. Then she remembered that Taejun had also seen Jaemin with another woman at the theater. Her heart sank. Was Taejun being kind because he liked her, or because he felt sorry for her? That thought drove Mina straight to Taejun to confront him. But when Taejun tried to explain, she couldn't listen anymore. She turned and ran. The next day, Mina called Jae-hye and quit the job Taejun had arranged for her. After that, she started searching online for new part-time work. Then Taejun showed up again. Mina didn't even have time to close the job search page on her computer. She panicked and ran out. When Taejun saw her leave, he immediately went after her. Just when Mina was cornered and had no idea what to do, Yura called. Yura said she wanted to meet and talk. Mina used the call as an excuse to leave. She left Taejun standing there by himself. Frustrated, Taejun sank onto a nearby stone bench. Then he heard a couple arguing. He couldn't help stepping in. After the couple made up, Taejun finally left. Mina went to Yura's office. Yura claimed she wanted to introduce Mina to a part-time job. But Mina had already seen through her. She brought up the caller ID she had seen in the restroom that day. The cousin Yura had mentioned was actually Jaemin's number. The second Yura heard that, she asked when Mina and Jaemin were getting divorced. Mina said they had to wait until the school finished its family member investigation. Yura's reaction gave her away. She clearly knew nothing about any investigation. She also had no idea that Jaemin had been using that excuse to delay the divorce. One look at Yura's face told Mina everything. Jaemin had lied to her again. After leaving Yura's office, Mina went straight to Jaemin and demanded an immediate divorce. Before Jaemin could react, Mina told him she had just seen Yura. Jaemin rushed to explain. He said he had only been worried that Taejun would deceive her. Mina found it ridiculous. Jaemin was obviously the one who had changed. Yet here he was, insisting that refusing to divorce her was somehow for her own good. Jaemin started wondering how Mina had found out about his relationship with Yura. He remembered that Taejun had once warned him to handle the matter properly. So Jaemin decided Taejun must have told Mina behind his back. He stormed into Taejun's office and confronted him. Had Taejun been secretly pushing Mina to divorce him? But when Jaemin saw Taejun's blank expression, he understood. Mina truly wanted the divorce. And Taejun truly loved her. For Mina's sake, Taejun had even been trying to bring Jaemin and Mina back together. After Taejun learned that Mina had made up her mind, he went quiet and thought for a while. Then he called Mina and said the studio needed her help. Over the phone, Mina could hear the assistant rushing around in chaos. In the end, she went back to the studio. After work, Taejun drove Mina home. Mina told him she had only come that day to repay a favor. From then on, she would not return to the studio. Taejun could tell she was still angry. This time, he stopped trying to explain. He told her how he really felt. He said he wasn't being kind to her on a whim. She had always been special to him. Then Taejun took out a box and handed it to her. He told her to open it when she got home, when she was alone. He said the things inside would explain why he had always treated her that way. But Mina didn't wait until she got home. She took the box to a nearby rest area. When she opened it, the first thing she saw was a box of cassette tapes. They were all songs she liked. Beside them was a blue envelope. Mina opened it and found a confession letter inside. She looked up in shock. She never expected Taejun to be standing not far away. Mina froze for a few seconds. Then she asked, "What exactly is this?" Taejun didn't hide. He didn't pretend not to know either. He answered honestly, "It's the confession letter I wrote to my first love." Then Taejun told her what had happened back in high school. Back then, everyone had laughed at his dream. Only Mina had sincerely told him she believed he could become a famous director one day. But Mina didn't remember it at all. Taejun couldn't hide his disappointment. That casual encouragement had changed his entire life. But the person who said it had forgotten it long ago. After confessing, Taejun did not pressure her for an answer. He only asked Mina to think it over and make her own choice. Meanwhile, Jaemin was trying to find a way to win Mina back. He sat in the study, rehearsing how to persuade her to give up on the divorce. He even childishly hid Mina's copy of the agreement. Once again, the two of them stood in the same place. Only this time, Jaemin was the one trying to hold on to the marriage. To keep Mina, Jaemin gave her two reasons. First, he insisted he did not have a narcissistic personality. Second, he blamed their divorce on a lack of common language. He tried to sound calm. He even asked Mina to think it over carefully one more time, but Mina only felt disgusted. She could see it clearly. Jaemin wasn't reflecting on their marriage. He was making excuses for himself. Jaemin also tried to pull Mina back with memories from when they were still happy. 20 years earlier, during a performance, someone had accidentally stepped on Mina's shoe. She fell hard. But she didn't give up. She endured the pain and finished the entire performance. Jaemin had fallen for her in that moment. After the performance, he bought medicine and went to talk to her. Mina didn't want to accept medicine from a stranger. So Jaemin scared her with a string of medical-sounding warnings. He said the consequences could be serious if she didn't apply the ointment. Only then did Mina reluctantly accept it. But Jaemin didn't simply hand her the medicine. He applied it for her himself. That was how the two of them met. Later, Jaemin even asked Mina to teach him how to dance. Mina quickly pulled him out of the past. She told Jaemin the only reason she had trusted him back then was that, from behind, he reminded her of her late father. But that trust had become a thing of the past long ago. Back then, Mina had gone to Germany with Jaemin while pregnant. All she wanted was for her husband to help ask whether there were any Korean people nearby. Jaemin said yes. Then he turned around and did nothing. He never helped her find anyone she could rely on. He didn't even teach her the most basic German phrases for daily life. Later, when Mina was about to give birth, she was home alone and in so much pain she couldn't stand. She didn't even know how to ask for help. She endured it on the floor for several hours. She was only taken to the hospital after Jaemin came home. Jaemin stammered and tried to defend himself. But Mina said it plainly. She regretted going to Germany with him. She even felt that if she had raised her son alone from the beginning, things might have turned out better than they had now. The moment Jaemin heard her mention their son, hope rose in him again. He wanted to use their son to keep Mina tied to the marriage. Mina cut him off. She said she would ask their son what he thought about the divorce. At that moment, Junwoo had already heard the entire conversation. Taejun had wanted to go to the school and stage a chance encounter. But Hyami found Mina first. The moment Hyami met her, she got straight to the point. She could tell Taejun still hadn't gotten over Mina. Mina tried to brush it off at first. But Hyami laid out the evidence piece by piece. Mina had no choice but to admit that Taejun was indeed her first love. To Mina, though, being loved by someone felt impossibly far away. She was already a mother, and she was going through a divorce. It was hard to believe that someone could seriously like her again. Before the conversation could end, Junwoo sent her a message. He asked her to come home that night so they could talk. Hyami then turned around and went to Taejun's office. She directly asked him if he still liked Mina. Taejun looked a little flustered. For a moment, he didn't know how to answer. Hyami didn't press him. She only told him that Mina was now preparing to work and earn money so she could support herself. Meanwhile, Mina had been waiting in the classroom for Yura's class. But the class was suddenly cancelled. A free break like this was rare. So she sat on campus with her friends from the performance group, drinking and chatting. Just as the mood relaxed, Taejun called. Mina didn't want to answer at first. But the moment her friends saw who was calling, they started teasing her. She had no choice but to pick up. On purpose, she complained and asked why he was bothering her during class time. Taejun sounded completely calm. He already knew the class had been cancelled. He had also already arrived at the school. Mina still tried to pretend she was busy. Then he appeared right in front of her. Smiling, he said to the others, "You all keep going. I'll borrow her for a moment." When her friends saw that, they understood immediately. They quickly made excuses and left. Mina kept talking like she didn't care. But she had already followed Taejun. She kept acting awkward. Even so, she still told Taejun she would keep working at his studio. Taejun looked pleasantly surprised. Mina immediately added that she had something to do that day and couldn't go over. So Taejun took her to the bus stop. When he realized Mina still hadn't listened to the cassette tapes, he pulled a tape player from his bag. The two sat side by side beside the bus stop sign, listening to songs they had liked in high school. Mina couldn't help asking exactly when he had started liking her. Taejun didn't answer directly. He only told her to think back carefully. Meanwhile, because Mina had exposed Yura's relationship with Jaemin, Yura was too embarrassed to keep teaching her. She angrily went to Jaemin's office. Jaemin looked surprised and asked, "At this hour, shouldn't you be in class?" Yura held back her anger and told Jaemin that Mina already knew about them. She no longer knew what role she was supposed to play when facing Mina. Jaemin's first reaction wasn't to comfort her. Instead, he asked whether Mina was determined to leave him. Yura held back her emotions and asked why he didn't trust her. She said that when she heard Mina had asked for the divorce first, she didn't feel happy. She felt humiliated, as if the divorce had been handed to her like charity. But Jaemin's attention had completely shifted. He only heard the word divorce. He immediately told Yura to sit down. He said they needed to discuss it again because his divorce plan had already run into a problem. Yura was completely disappointed. She regretted helping Jaemin become a university professor. After a huge fight between them, Jaemin finally found out he had only gotten the job through connections. That enraged him. He felt like he couldn't keep living this way. That night, after coming home, Junwoo stopped avoiding the issue. He told his father to honor their earlier agreement and divorce his mother. He told Jaemin he didn't want to be used as an excuse to delay his parents' divorce anymore. So he had decided to move out and become independent. When Jaemin heard his son say that, he finally gave in. He agreed to file the divorce papers that weekend. Jaemin soon set his sights on a new goal. At another prestigious university, a psychology professor was about to retire. This gave him a chance to make a comeback. To get that position, he asked a friend to introduce him. When he met the professor, Jaemin acted extremely humble. With just a few flattering lines, he quickly made the professor beam. When Mina finished work and was about to leave, Taejun handed her some job search materials. Mina didn't understand why Taejun suddenly cared so much about her work. Taejun quickly explained that he was just giving her advice as someone older. He was afraid she might make things harder for herself once she started looking for work. When Mina was about to leave, Taejun came up with another excuse. He asked her to go clothes shopping with him. Inside the clothing store, the two kept bickering like they always did. The store manager mistook them for a couple. Taejun watched Mina on purpose, waiting to see how she would react. In the end, he brushed it off and said they were basically like siblings. After they left the store, he pretended to take a phone call and made sure Mina saw a job posting. In truth, Taejun had used his connections to find that dance-related job for Mina. Mina didn't agree right away. She only said she would think about it. But the next day, she still didn't go to the interview. She came to the studio for work as usual. Only this time, she had dressed up more than usual. When Taejun and the assistant saw her, they both froze. After work, Taejun saw that Jaemin had come to pick Mina up and take her home. Jae-hai couldn't help asking Taejun whether Mina might get back together with her ex-husband. Taejun's answer was firm. He said there was no way that would happen. Jaemin drove Mina to a dinner gathering. It turned out he was trying to transfer to another school for work. That was why he had brought Mina with him. He wanted everyone to see him as a man with a respectable family. At dinner, the professor thanked Jaemin. He said Jaemin had helped him back in 2000. The moment Mina heard the date, her expression shifted. The conference had taken place right around the time her grandmother died. And then it all clicked. Back then, Jaemin had chosen his own future over her grief. He had kept her from going home for her grandmother's funeral. Overcome with anger, Mina slapped him twice. Then she turned and walked away. She ran to the rice cake shop her grandmother used to own. But by the time she arrived, the shop had already closed for the day. When she got home, Jaemin finally handed her the divorce papers. After the divorce was finalized, Mina went to Jack's Tteokbokki restaurant. The familiar taste brought back memories of her late grandmother. The guilt and longing she had buried for years came rushing back, pressing down on her until she could barely breathe. That night, she was trapped in memories of her grandmother and couldn't sleep. The next day, Mina went back to the studio to work. After Taejun and the producers finished their meeting, everyone got ready to head out for dinner. Taejun asked Mina to join them. Mina said she wasn't feeling well and turned them down. So Taejun deliberately left his phone behind at the studio. When everyone was about to eat, he asked his assistant to call Mina and have her bring it over. Jae-hai noticed how differently Taejun treated Mina, and it made her deeply uneasy. So she lied to Taejun and said Mina had already gone home. After dinner, Taejun returned to the studio. There, he found Mina curled up on the sofa, asleep and covered in sweat. Remembering how unwell she had looked earlier, he reached out in concern and touched her forehead. She had a fever. Taejun brought her a blanket and fever medicine. But he was afraid the medicine would upset her stomach if she took it without eating. So he made porridge and fed it to her one spoonful at a time. After that night, something between them quietly began to shift. When Mina woke up, she saw the medicine and porridge on the table. Only then did she realize Taejun had stayed by her side all night. Unable to stop herself, she reached out and gently brushed his hair. But Taejun moved in his sleep, and Mina snapped back to reality. She hurried out of the studio. She even lied on the phone, saying she had gone home before dawn. At first, Taejun couldn't understand why she was avoiding him. Then he remembered Mina reaching out to touch his hair. In that instant, he understood. She did have feelings for him. She just didn't dare admit it. The thought instantly lifted Taejun's mood. But Jae-hye noticed signs that someone had slept on the sofa. She said nothing, though her expression darkened at once. Just then, Jaemin showed up on his own. He told Taejun that he and Mina were already divorced. Then he openly declared war. He said he was going to win Mina back. After class, Mina ran into Jaemin again. Without saying a word, Jaemin suddenly crouched down and tried to tie her shoe. Mina instinctively stepped back. But he pulled her toward him. As he tied her shoe, Jaemin quietly said, "This was always supposed to be my job." He still remembered Mina once saying she liked the view of his back. So he turned slightly on purpose, trying to remind her of that memory. But Mina only felt uncomfortable. She turned to leave. Jaemin followed her and added that if anything happened at home, she could come to him for help anytime. Meanwhile, after a huge fight with Jaemin, Yura ordered 2 students to blackmail him. She was waiting for Jaemin to come crawling back and beg for help. At the same time, Mina was reading when she received a call from Jae-hye. Jae-hye was completely drunk on the phone. Mina had no choice but to rush to the bar. But the moment she arrived, she heard something she never expected. Jae-hye liked Taejun. The next day, Mina remembered how her face would flush and her heart would race whenever she saw Taejun. She knew she couldn't keep working by his side anymore. She wanted to run from a feeling that was becoming impossible to hide. So she went to interview for the job she had seen earlier. But when the call connected, Taejun recognized Jack's voice. He rushed straight to Jack's tteokbokki restaurant. Without saying a word, he grabbed Mina and pulled her away. That was how Mina realized the job had not come to her by chance. Taejun had been helping her from behind the scenes all along. But she no longer wanted to be guided by someone else's kindness. Stubbornly, she said she would never go back to work for him. Taejun refused to back down. He confessed his feelings again. Mina was completely caught off guard. She was so startled that she started hiccuping right there. Taejun panicked and immediately told Jack, who had been hiding nearby and watching, to get some water. After Mina recovered, she finally processed what had just happened. But instead of focusing on the confession, she cared about something else. How exactly did Taejun know she was divorced? After Mina rejected Taejun, her best friend confronted her about it. The two met at a cafe, and Mina ended up telling her the whole story. She told her best friend she didn't want to date anyone at all right now. The next day, Taejun still showed up outside Mina's building. He insisted that she tell him why she didn't like him. The more Mina avoided him, the more he refused to step back. He even took her to the performance venue. Then he deliberately told other people she was his girlfriend. Mina was so startled that she turned around and walked away. Later, the two went to the place where Mina had once practiced going on a date. Taejun told her the date spot itself didn't matter. What mattered was who was standing beside her. Mina kept pushing him away with words. But the more time they spent together, the more he made her smile. On the way back, Taejun didn't drive. Instead, he took the subway with her. He said he only wanted to do the things with her that they never had the chance to do before. For the first time, Mina dared to really look at him. It wasn't that she felt nothing. She just didn't know whether someone who had been divorced still had the right to start over. Mina didn't want to keep arguing about whether she had feelings for him. So she simply suggested that from now on, they should just be ordinary friends. Taejun rejected the idea immediately. No. Mina had nowhere left to hide. So she forced herself to be cruel. She told Taejun not to show up around her anymore. Seeing how firm she was, Taejun had no choice but to leave first. At school, Taejun saw Jaemin and Yura run straight into each other. But they acted like complete strangers. Neither of them greeted the other. The strange scene made Taejun realize something was wrong. At the studio, Mina saw Jae-hye dressed beautifully. Then Jae-hye said she was going to confess to Taejun that day. Mina froze. Taejun, meanwhile, was still thinking about the strange behavior between Jaemin and Yura. He didn't notice Mina's reaction. To Mina, it felt like he had truly ignored her. It wasn't until they were in the car that Jae-hye told Taejun the truth. She was going on a blind date. The so-called confession was something she had said on purpose for Mina to hear. Taejun immediately realized Mina had probably misunderstood. By then, Mina could think of only one thing. Jae-hye was going to confess to Taejun. Just then, her best friend called with another shock. Jaemin had sold the shop. For Jaemin, it wasn't just his job that fell apart. It was the dignity he had always tried so hard to maintain. First, he was forced to sell the shop. Then the school notified him that he had been fired. The reason was an accusation that he had bribed students. Only then did Jaemin finally panic. It turned out he had already received a blackmail letter before all of this. The sender threatened him, saying that if he didn't want the scandal exposed, he had to pay a huge amount of hush money. Jaemin knew very well he hadn't done it. But the second email pushed him over the edge. In the end, he could only sell the shop and hand over the money. Worse still, someone had secretly photographed him making the payment. After he calmed down, Jaemin realized this wasn't simple blackmail. It was revenge, and he was the target. After thinking it through, Jaemin realized the person most likely behind everything was Yura. When he went to confront her, Yura did not deny it. She only admitted coldly that this was her revenge. Jaemin walked out in despair. By chance, he ran into Taejun, who had come to resign from Yura's project. This time, Jaemin didn't challenge Taejun the way he usually did. He simply lowered his head and walked away. Yura thought Jaemin had come back to beg her. She was ready to mock him to his face. But the person who walked in was Taejun. Taejun had barely said a word before Yura, still in a terrible mood, drove him away. That only confused Taejun even more. Before, Yura had been the one forcing him to teach. Now that he was the one choosing to leave, she didn't even try to stop him. Taejun soon sensed that something serious had happened between Jaemin and Yura. The assistant's comments, Hayami's request for help, and Jaemin's sudden sale of the shop all pointed in the same direction. This was no longer just a private matter between two people. Following the clues in the photos, Taejun dug deeper. He quickly found the students involved in the secret filming. Once he had the evidence, Taejun stopped talking around the issue. He went straight to Yura and laid everything out. Yura still tried to act like she knew nothing. But Taejun named the two students and told her exactly what he had found. Only then did Yura realize Taejun had already discovered who was pulling the strings. He didn't keep questioning her. He only left her with a warning. Before Mina saw the posts, Yura had to delete Jaemin's scandal immediately. Otherwise, Taejun would personally expose her relationship with Jaemin online. Yura still refused to stop. Then Taejun asked how long that happiness would last, even if her revenge succeeded. After all, she had once truly loved Jaemin. Hearing that, Yura finally wavered. She walked across campus alone. In that moment, she remembered how simple her wish had been in the beginning. All she had wanted was to hold Jaemin's hand one day and walk there openly with him. But that day never came. Instead, they had turned each other into enemies. Yura couldn't hold back her tears. Afraid someone might see, she quickly wiped them away. To settle the trouble in front of them, Yura asked Jaemin to meet her. The moment Jaemin stopped in front of her, she hit him hard. Then he picked up the documents on the table. That was when he realized Yura was the one who had bought his shop. Yura told him the whole truth. After that, Jaemin came to Taejun's studio. He asked Taejun why he had helped him. Taejun gave him only one answer. He didn't want Jaemin's mess to hurt Mina again. The next day, Jaemin took off his usual respectable suit. Dressed in sloppy clothes, he returned to the home he once shared with Mina. Mina's expression hardened when she saw her ex-husband. But seeing how far he had fallen, she still couldn't help asking what had happened. Jaemin said he wouldn't come bother her again. Because compared to Taejun, he had completely lost. Jaemin told Mina how Taejun had secretly helped him. For Jaemin, it was his way of admitting defeat. But for Mina, it was another blow. A painful realization hit her. From the professor incident, to the job, to the trouble between Jaemin and Yura, Taejun had always been standing in front of her, blocking everything for her. She had thought that by leaving Jaemin and returning to college, she had finally taken control of her life. But now, it felt as if she had only walked out of a life arranged by one man and onto a road paved by another. That realization hurt her deeply. She submitted a withdrawal application to the school. She also told Taejun not to appear around her again. She wasn't ungrateful to Taejun. She just couldn't let any man decide how she should live anymore. When Hayami found out, she thought Mina had completely lost her mind. Back when Mina believed she was terminally ill, she had still insisted on staying in school. Now that she had finally come this far, how could she give up just like that? Besides, if she stopped here, how could she face Taejun, who had already become a famous director? But Mina still took a part-time job at Jack's Tekbaki restaurant. That day, Hayami came to the shop to see her. She deliberately asked whether Taejun had stopped by lately. Mina pretended to be calm. She said he was probably just too busy. But Hayami shattered that illusion immediately. Taejun wasn't busy. He just didn't want to hear anything about Mina anymore. The last time Jack told him Mina was helping at the restaurant, Taejun told Jack not to mention her again. Mina showed no reaction on the outside. But inside, she instantly remembered her last conversation with Taejun. Back then, Taejun hadn't wanted to give up so easily. He had asked her to meet so they could talk. He told Mina he didn't like her because she reminded him of his first love. What truly moved him was the woman she had become after they met again. Her strength, her kindness, and the way she fought to live were the reasons he couldn't let go. But even then, Mina still hadn't accepted him. Seeing how down Mina was, Hayami made a suggestion. When the anniversary of Mina's grandmother's death came, they should go back to Mina's hometown together. The mention of her grandmother finally helped Mina pull herself together. She began planning the trip home. At the same time, Taejun was deep in rehearsals for the play. To make sure the script came to life perfectly, he was especially strict with the actors. Dongo brought snacks to help everyone recharge. Someone nearby couldn't help asking why Taejun had stopped treating everyone to tteokbokki lately. Taejun simply said he hadn't been in the mood for it. Then the scene shifted. Mina and Taejun unexpectedly ran into each other at a bookstore. Mina watched Taejun walk closer and closer. She wanted to greet him first. But Taejun acted like he hadn't seen her. He walked straight past her. That night, Mina took a notebook out of her bag. Inside was a carefully preserved newspaper clipping. It was an article about Taejun. She looked at Taejun in the photo. The longer she stared, the angrier she became. In the end, she snapped the newspaper shut. The next day, Mina came to the bus stop, getting ready to return to her hometown with her best friend. While waiting for the bus, she saw a nearby couple teasing each other playfully. She couldn't help remembering the sweet moment when she had listened to music with Taejun. Just then, a car stopped in front of her. The window rolled down. The person inside was Taejun. Taejun invited her to get in and said he could give her a ride. Mina refused right away. She said she could take a taxi. So Taejun got out of the car. Pretending to be casual, he asked where she was going. When he learned Mina was going back to her hometown, he put her luggage straight into the trunk. Then he opened the car door for her. Mina protested with her words. But in the end, she still got into his car. Awkwardly, she emphasized that he only needed to take her to the bus station. Right then, Hayami called. She said her mother had to go to the hospital for a checkup, so she couldn't go back to Mina's hometown with her. Just like that, Mina and Taejun returned to her hometown together. They also went together to pay their respects to her late grandmother. Looking at the familiar yard, Mina couldn't help thinking back to 20 years ago. Back then, they had practiced dancing there together. Taejun had been shy and introverted. Who could have imagined that years later, he would become so sharp-tongued? Mina remembered how she had encouraged him back then. She had also buried a time capsule with him. All at once, she wanted to know whether the things they had buried back then were still there. But when she returned to the spot, she couldn't remember exactly where they had buried it. Then Taejun appeared. He reminded her that they had buried it under the big tree. Excited, Mina picked up a branch and began digging up memories from 20 years ago. She dug the bottle out of the soil and carefully wiped away the dirt. She opened Taejun's bottle first. Inside was the future plan he had written 20 years ago. And no matter what future he had imagined, she was always in it. Then she opened her own bottle. She saw the name of the person she had written down as someone she wanted to pay attention to back then. In that moment, Mina finally understood. Taejun had not remembered her by accident. He had kept her words, and everything she cared about, in his heart. And now, she finally realized his feelings had been waiting for her for more than 20 years. Mina quickly got up and chased after Taejun, whose heart had already turned cold. It turned out that after Taejun finished his military service, he had come back once to pay his respects to Mina's grandmother. By then, both of his parents had passed away. He was about to leave to study in Russia. He didn't even know whether he would ever come back. Then he saw the time capsule. He also remembered how Mina had betrayed him back then. He had wanted to throw everything away. But in the end, he still couldn't bring himself to do it. After saying this, Taejun turned to leave. Mina hurriedly hugged him from behind, as if she were afraid he would really disappear. Tears of regret kept falling. Mina had pushed Taejun away too many times. This time, he didn't dare believe her so easily. Coldly, he asked what it meant for her to hold on to him now. Mina stopped before he could walk away again. This time, she did not explain, apologize, or hide behind someone else's expectations. She simply held on to him and said what she had been too afraid to say before: she wanted him to stay. Taejun did not answer right away. For more than 20 years, both of them had mistaken silence for rejection and distance for indifference. Now, standing there with Mina's arms around him, he finally allowed himself to believe her. Later, they visited her grandmother's grave together. Mina told her, softly, that they had found each other again, not because time had been kind, but because this time, neither of them had chosen to run. Feeling wronged, Mina asked why he hadn't come to find her sooner if he had never let go. That was when Taejun told her the truth. It wasn't that he had stopped caring about her. He had only changed the way he cared for her. He had asked Hayami and Jack to take care of Mina. They had also helped arrange this reunion. In the end, Jaemin went to teach at a countryside school. Without Mina, he no longer tried to maintain the respectable image he once had. He wore worn-out clothes and simply went on with his life.